Day 24, Patriarchs, Genesis 45 through 46, Job 37 through 38, Proverbs 4 verses 20 through 27. Let's begin. Genesis 45:46. Joseph was unable to restrain himself any longer, standing before so many. Therefore, he instructed that all should go outside, and that no stranger should be among them as they recognized one another. And he lifted up his voice with weeping, which the Egyptians heard, along with the entire house of Pharaoh. And he said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? His brothers were unable to respond, being terrified by a very great fear. And he said to them mildly, Approach toward me. And when they had approached close by, he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Do not be afraid, and let it not seem to you to be a hardship that you sold me into these regions. For God sent me before you into Egypt for your salvation. For it is 2 years since the famine began to be upon the land, and 5 years more remain, in which there can be neither plowing nor reaping. And God sent me ahead, so that you may be preserved upon the earth, and so that you would be able to have food in order to live. I was sent here, not by your counsel, but by the will of God. He has caused me to be like a father to Pharaoh, and to be the lord of his entire house, as well as governor throughout all the land of Egypt. Hurry, and go up to my father, and say to him, Your son Joseph commands this, God has caused me to be lord of the entire land of Egypt. Come down to me, do not delay. And you will live in the land of Goshen. And you will be next to me, you and your sons and the sons of your sons, your sheep and your herds, and all that you possess. And there I will pasture you, for there are still 5 years of famine remaining, lest both you and your house perish, along with all that you possess. Behold, your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin can see that it is my mouth speaking to you. You will report to my father about all my glory, and about all that you have seen in Egypt. Hurry, and bring him to me. And then falling upon the neck of his brother Benjamin, he embraced him and wept. And likewise Benjamin wept at the same time on his neck. And Joseph kissed all his brothers, and he cried over each one. After this, they were emboldened to speak to him. And it was overheard, and the news spread by word throughout the king's court. The brothers of Joseph had arrived, and Pharaoh was gladdened along with all his family. And he told Joseph that he should command his brothers, saying, Burden your beasts, and go into the land of Canaan. And take from there your father and kindred, and come to me. And I will give you all the good things of Egypt, so that you may eat from the marrow of the land. And you may even instruct that they take wagons from the land of Egypt, in order to transport their little ones as well as their wives. And say, Take your father, and come quickly, as soon as possible. You need not give up anything from your household, for all the riches of Egypt will be yours. And the sons of Israel did just as they were commanded. And Joseph gave them wagons, according to the command of Pharaoh, and provisions for the journey. Likewise, he ordered 2 robes for each of them to be brought. Yet truly, to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver along with 5 of the best robes. And he sent just as much money and clothing to his father, adding also 10 male donkeys, with which to transport all the riches of Egypt, and as many female donkeys, carrying wheat and bread for the journey. Thus he sent away his brothers, and as they set out he said, Do not become angry on the way. And they ascended out of Egypt, and they arrived in the land of Canaan, to their father Jacob. And they reported to him, saying, Your son Joseph is alive, and he is ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. When Jacob heard this, he was stirred up, as if from a deep sleep, yet he did not believe them. To the contrary, they explained the entire matter in order. And when he had seen the wagons, and all that he had sent, his spirit revived. And he said, It is enough for me, if my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. And Israel, setting out with all that he had, arrived at the well of the oath, and sacrificing victims there to the God of his father Isaac. He heard him, by a vision in the night, calling him, and saying to him, Jacob, Jacob. And he answered him, Behold, here I am. God said to him, I am the most strong God of your father. Do not be afraid. Descend into Egypt, for there I will make of you a great nation. I will descend with you to that place, and I will lead you back from there, returning. Also, Joseph will place his hands over your eyes. Then Jacob rose up from the well of the oath. And his sons took him, with their little ones and wives, in the wagons that Pharaoh had sent to carry the old man, along with all that he possessed in the land of Canaan. And he arrived in Egypt with all his offspring, his sons and his grandsons, his daughters and all his progeny together. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel, who entered into Egypt, he with his children. The firstborn is Reuben. The sons of Reuben, Hanok and Palu, and Hezron and Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel and Jamin and Ohad, and Jachin and Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi, Gershon and Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Er and Onan, and Shelah, and Perez and Zerah. Now Er and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And sons were born to Perez, Hezron and Hamel. The sons of Issachar, Tola and Puvah, and Job and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sered and Elon and Yalil. These are the sons of Leah, whom she bore, along with his daughter Dinah, in Mesopotamia of Syria. All the souls of her sons and daughters are 33. The sons of Gad, Ziphion and Haggi, and Shuni and Esbon, and Eri and Erodi, and Areli. The sons of Asher, Imnah and Jeshua, and Jeshui and Beriah, and also their sister Sarah. The sons of Beriah, Heber and Malchiel. These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to his daughter Leah. And these she bore to Jacob, 16 souls. The sons of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, Joseph and Benjamin. And sons were born to Joseph in the land of Egypt, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of Heliopolis, bore for him, Manasseh and Ephraim. The sons of Benjamin, Bela and Becher, and Ashbel and Gera, and Naaman and Ahi, and Rosh and Moppim, and Huppim and Ard. These are the sons of Rachel, whom she bore to Jacob. All these souls are 14. The sons of Dan, Hushim. The sons of Naphtali, Jahzeel and Guni, and Jezer and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to his daughter Rachel, and these she bore to Jacob. All these souls are 7. All the souls who went into Egypt with Jacob and who went out from his thigh, besides the wives of his sons, were 66. Now the sons of Joseph, who were born to him in the land of Egypt, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, who went into Egypt, were 70. Then he sent Judah ahead of himself, to Joseph, in order to report to him, and so that he would meet him in Goshen. And when he had arrived there, Joseph harnessed his chariot, and he went up to meet his father at the same place. And seeing him, he fell upon his neck, and amid embraces he wept. And the father said to Joseph, Now I will die happy, because I have seen your face, and I am leaving you behind alive. And he said to his brothers and to all his father's house, I will go up and report to Pharaoh, and I will say to him, My brothers, and my father's house, who are in the land of Canaan, have come to me. And these honorable men are pastors of sheep, and they have the task of feeding the flock. Their cattle, and herds, and all that they were able to hold, they have brought with them. And when he will call you and will say, What is your work? You will respond, Your servants are pastors of honor, from our infancy even to the present time, both we and our fathers. Now you will say this so that you may be able to live in the land of Goshen, because the Egyptians detest all pastors of sheep. Job 37:38. At this, my heart became frightened, and it has been moved from its place. Pay close attention to the alarm of his voice and to the sound that proceeds from his mouth. He beholds everything under the heavens, and his light reaches beyond the ends of the earth. After this, a noise will sound, he will thunder with the voice of his greatness, and it will not be tracked down, yet his voice will be obeyed. God will thunder with his voice miraculously, for he performs great and unsearchable things. He commands the snow to descend on earth, and the winter rains, and the shower of his strength. He signs the hand of all men, so that each one may know his works. The beast will enter his hiding place, and he will remain in his cave. From the interior, a storm will come forth, and a cold winter from the north. As God breathes out, frost forms, and the waters are poured forth very widely again. Crops desire clouds, and the clouds scatter their light. It shines all around, wherever the will of him that governs them will lead, to anywhere he will command, over the whole face of the earth. Whether in one tribe, or in his own region, or in whatever place of his mercy that he will order them to be found. Listen to these things, Job. Stand up and consider the wonders of God. Do you know when God ordered the rains, so as to show the light of his clouds? Do you know the great paths of the clouds, and the perfect sciences? Are not your garments hot, when the south wind blows across the land? Perhaps you have made the heavens with him, which are very solid, as if they had been cast from brass. Reveal to us what we should say to him, for, of course, we are wrapped in darkness. Who will explain to him the things that I am saying? Even while a man is still speaking, he will be devoured. Although they do not see the light, the air will be thickened suddenly into clouds, and the wind, passing by, will drive them away. Riches arrive from the north, and fearful praise reaches out to God. We are not worthy to be able to find him. Great in strength, great in judgment, great in justice, he is indescribable. Therefore, men will fear him, and all those who seem to themselves to be wise will not dare to contemplate him. But the Lord, responding to Job from a whirlwind, said, Who is this that wraps sentences in unskilled words? Gird your waist like a man. I will question you, and you must answer me. Where were you when I set the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding. Who set its measurements, if you know, or who stretched a line over it? Upon what have its bases been grounded, and who set forth its cornerstone? When the morning stars praised me together, and all the sons of God made a joyful noise. Who enclosed the sea with doors, when it broke forth as if issuing from the womb? When I stationed a cloud as its garment, and wrapped it in a mist as if swaddling an infant. I encircled it with my limits, and I positioned its bars and doors. And I said, This far you will approach, and you will proceed no further, and here you will break your swelling waves. Did you, after your birth, command the birth of the sun, and show the sunrise its place? And did you hold the extremities of the earth, shaking them, and have you shaken the impious out of it? This seal will be restored like clay, and it will remain in place like a garment. From the impious, the light will be taken away, and the exalted arm will be broken. Have you entered the depths of the sea, and have you taken a walk in the uttermost parts of the abyss? Have the gates of death been opened to you, and have you seen the doors of darkness? Have you considered the breadth of the earth? If you know all things, reveal them to me. Which is the way that holds the light, and which is the place of darkness? In this way, you might lead each thing to its final place, and understand the paths of its house. So then, did you know when you were to be born? And did you know the number of your days? Have you been admitted into the storehouses of the snows, and have you gazed upon the stockpile of the brimstone, which I have prepared for the time of the enemy, for the day of the battle and the war? In what way is the light scattered, and the heat distributed, over the earth? Who gave a course to the rainstorms, and a path to the resounding thunder, so that it would rain on the earth far from man, in the wilderness where no mortal lingers, so that it would fill impassable and desolate places, and would bring forth green plants? Who is the father of rain, or who conceived the drops of dew? From whose womb did the ice proceed, and who created the frost from the air? The waters are hardened to become like stone, and the surface of the abyss freezes over. Will you have the strength to join together the sparkling stars of the Pleiades, or are you able to disperse the circling of Arcturus? Can you bring forth the morning star, in its time, and make the evening star rise over the sons of the earth? Do you know the order of heaven, and can you explain its rules here on the earth? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds, so that an onslaught of waters will cover you? Can you send forth lightning bolts, and will they go, and on returning, say to you, Here we are? Who placed discernment in the guts of man, or who gave the rooster intelligence? Who can describe the rules of the heavens, or who can put to rest the harmony of heaven? When was the dust cast to become the earth, and when were its clouds fastened together? Will Ulysses pray for the lioness, and will you sustain the lives of her young, as they rest in their dens or lie in wait in pits? Who provides the raven with its meal, when her chicks cry out to God, as they wander around because they have no food? Proverbs 4 verses 20 through 27. My son, pay attention to my sermons, and incline your ear to my eloquent words. Let them not recede from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart. For they are life to those who find them and health to all that is flesh. Preserve your heart with all watchfulness, for life proceeds from this. Remove from yourself a corrupt mouth, and let detracting lips be far from you. Let your eyes look straight ahead, and let your eyelids precede your steps. Direct the path of your feet, and all your ways shall be secure. Turn aside, either to the right, nor to the left, yet turn your foot away from evil. For the Lord knows the ways that are on the right, and truly, those that are on the left are perverse. But He Himself will make your courses straight. Then your journey will advance in peace,